What you see on the screen is a unit I created for this course. As you may notice, this thematic unit on family was created for a Filipino 1 class, which is novice level. When I was creating this unit, I had the intention of introducing students to what Filipino families typically look like in the Philippines and outside, but also highlight that it is changing because of global dynamics and varied needs. I also wanted this unit to give them an opportunity to connect with and learn about their own families. By the end of this unit, I wanted students to be able to create simple sentences about family using different nouns, adjectives, and pronouns, and to use those to express themselves in writing, speaking to each other, and presentations. I also wanted them to understand that the family is a huge part of the Filipino culture. The interpretive tasks in this unit range from reading and watching videos on Ang Alamat ng Pinya, which is a canon of Filipino literature. I wanted to use that text to jumpstart conversations about families in the Philippines. Alongside that, I wanted students to watch Ang Tanging Ina, which is a classic Filipino comedy that talks about big Filipino families and hardships that they face in the Philippines. This perfectly segues into conversations about migration, which is a topic that the majority, if not all, the students can relate to. At the very end, I want them to look at a Prezi presentation that talks about the 7 waves of Filipino immigration and be able to pinpoint where their family fits into the entire history of Filipino diaspora. Once they feel like they can open up to each other, the interpersonal assessment would push them to ask each other relevant questions about their respective families, and I also wanted to open up the space for them to ask me as well. I feel like as teachers, we often forget that we are a part of the classroom community, and I think that it is important to incorporate opportunities for us to be able to make those connections explicit to the students. It is my hope that through those activities, they will feel comfortable enough to ask their family members, maybe their parents or their grandparents, about their family's migration story. I think that it is really important to know the reasons why their family is now in the United States or in San Francisco specifically. And I find that many students are actually not aware of that history. At the end of the unit, they will create a short video about 5 of their family members, one of whom should be the first one who came to the United States. These are the C's: cultures, connections, comparisons, communities, and connections to Common Core. Right under it is the Stage 3A, which is the toolbox. And Stage 3A was really helpful in guiding me through the nitty gritty of the unit. It helped me focus and really think about the language functions I will be covering, the grammar structures, and the vocabulary that came along with the unit. It was great to be able to identify Tier 1 and Tier 2 vocabulary and prepare for how I will teach them. At this level, there were no Tier 3 words identified. So these are the language functions and structures in the vocabulary. Right under it were key learning activities or formative assessments, which is Stage 3B. Stage 3B gave me the chance to lay out the unit from beginning to end. And interculturality was a piece that was especially helpful to have in this stage because it reminded me to make my unit well-rounded. Another aspect that was helpful was this column, which asked about how each formative assessment related to the overall unit goals. It was a great way for me to make sure that everything I did was purposeful and in conjunction with what I wanted students to learn by the end of the unit. It also was able to show me how my whole unit would flow. At the very end of my unit were the resources and technology integration aspects of my unit. So lesson 1 will begin with me using the image protocol. I will actually be showing photos about 4 different concepts: utang na loob, mano po, family dynamics, and extended family. And the image protocol is something that we learned in this course. So I will display 4 photos and I will ask students what they know about the picture, if they've seen or heard what they see. And then I will review the norms and expectations when they are sharing the responses to their classmates. I will explain that these are some of the universal values and practices that most Filipino families share. And then I'm going to ask a few pairs to share to the class what they talked about in their pairs. As a class, then we will read a written piece together with me, and whenever it is appropriate, I will be stopping the reading to make sure that we have a good discussion about what we just read. What I like to do in my class is to have one student read about 2 or 3 sentences, and then have that student call the next reader who will continue on the reading. I feel like it's a very simple way to make sure that students know each other's names, which I think is a really important part of the class. And then after that, I will have students complete a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is basically 2 circles with a part of each circle interlapping, and it will be a good visual for students to use to be able to compare Filipino and American values and see how they differ, but also see that they are sometimes similar. At the end, I will just ask them to reflect on their family dynamics, maybe open up some conversations with their families and see how they can relate or if they remember doing those practices at all. Lesson 2 will continue on to that discussion, but instead of doing the interpretive, we were going to do interpersonal and presentational modes of communication. The daily topics will be the same, but I will really push students to be able to explain those concepts through illustrations, their own words, and through art. On this day, the students will be working in groups. It will begin by students lining up to receive their assigned Chromebooks and logging onto Google Classroom. In this class, we made a Google survey which integrated authentic texts, and I will have students use that to demonstrate that they remember and still understand the topics that we talked about on the prior meeting. After that, I'm going to have students return the Chromebooks. And of course, the option is always open for them to just use their cell phones if they have a smartphone. After that, I'm going to have the class be divided into 8 groups of at least 2 members each, depending on the class size. On this stage, I will have students review key vocabulary and sentence frames to make sure that everyone will be able to do this activity successfully. The goal of the group will be to create one skit about a topic that they are assigned. So let me just go back. Each group will either have utang na loob, mano po, family dynamics, and extended family. When I was making this lesson, I actually first had students create a poster about each topic. So making 4 quadrants on big poster paper and illustrating it through drawings and using their own words. But I found that at this level, they might not have enough vocabulary yet to be able to do that in a meaningful way. So I actually altered the task and not the text, and I'm just going to have them create a skit, which is going to be more effective. And then after that, after they present their skit, I'm going to have the groups who are watching guess which of the 4 concepts the presenting group is presenting about. At the end, I'm just going to do a quick thumbs up, sideways, or down to see if